Welcome to The Explainer. We're always told that a big bank account means you've made it, right? But what if that's just a tiny piece of the puzzle? Today, we're going to dig into a whole new formula for what it means to live a truly rich life. It's about redefining wealth itself.
For, decades, we've been handed this one simple story. The number in your portfolio, that's your grade in life. But things are shifting, and a lot of us are starting to realize that scorecard is just totally incomplete. So what if there's a much better way to measure a life well lived?
Okay, so to really get this new formula, we've got to start by tearing down the old one. Let's talk about this massive, powerful myth that more money automatically means a better life.
And it's such a powerful story, isn't it? We're all caught up in it. We chase that next promotion, the bigger house, the flashier car, because we're convinced that real happiness is just waiting for us around that next financial corner. But this whole mindset, it just keeps us on a treadmill, running and running towards a finish line that seems to get further away the faster we go.
But, and this is where it gets really interesting, all the research, all the psychology, it points to a super surprising and honestly a crucial truth about the link between money and how happy we actually feel. So check this out. This chart shows something fascinating called the satiation point. What the data tells us is, yeah, money absolutely makes you happier when it's lifting you out of poverty, no question. But once your basic needs are covered, the returns just plummet. Pretty soon, even a huge jump in income barely moves the needle on how fulfilled you actually feel.
There's actually a name for this whole experience. It's called the hedonic treadmill. And it's the perfect way to describe why that thrill from a new car or a pay raise just vanishes so fast. We get used to it, our happiness baseline just resets, and then boom, we need an even bigger hit just to feel that same buzz. It's exhausting, and at the end of the day, it's just not fulfilling.
And this is what it leads to. We all know people, or have heard of people, who are loaded with cash, but they have zero time, they're stressed out of their minds, and they feel completely alone. They've got all the stuff, all the symbols of success, but inside, they feel totally trapped. It's like they're living in a golden cage they built themselves.
So, if that old model is so broken, what's the alternative? Well, the solution is in a completely new, kind of holistic way of thinking about wealth. It's about shifting our focus to currencies that are way, way more valuable in the long run.
Just think about the difference for a second. You buy something fancy, and yeah, you get this huge, instant dopamine hit. But it's gone almost as fast as it came. Your long-term happiness stays exactly the same. But what about contributing to something that actually matters? That gives you this slower, more lasting feeling of purpose that actually raises your happiness baseline over time. It's a total game changer.
And here's the key takeaway. When you line up what you're good at with something the world actually needs, you create this incredibly powerful kind of wealth. It's a legacy, something that can't be taxed or wiped out by a market crash. That kind of contribution, that becomes a permanent asset in your life's portfolio.
So this whole idea just blows up into a completely new way of looking at our assets, right? Not just what's in the bank, but what's in our life. So let's take a look at what a really diversified life portfolio actually contains.
Okay, a huge piece of this new portfolio is all about reclaiming our most precious, most finite resource, our time. We live in a world that's obsessed with being busy, but the real luxury, it isn't some fancy watch. It's the freedom to not even have to look at one. This idea of time affluence, just that feeling that you have enough time to do what you really want to do, that's the new gold.
If you look at the old way of thinking about wealth, our time was just gone. Eaten up almost entirely by work, right? There was no room for anything else. And being busy was worn like a badge of honor, even when it was pushing everything else that mattered right out of the picture.
But the new model? Whoa, it looks completely different. It's more like a balanced ecosystem. Yeah, meaningful work is still a big piece of the pie, but it lives right alongside your physical health, your deep connections with people, and just real, actual leisure time. It's not about running away from work. It's about weaving it into a life that's rich in every single way.
And this table just lays it all out perfectly. The old way of doing things, it was all in on financial security, and everything else got left behind. But this new model, it rebalances the whole portfolio. You're moving from a scarcity mindset, I don't have enough, to an abundance mindset, where every single one of these pillars is treated as equally important.
Now, let's be super clear here. This isn't about saying money is bad. Not at all. It's about dethroning it, right? putting it back in its proper place. The whole point is to make money a tool that helps you build up all these other essential parts of a rich life, instead of it being the one and only goal.
So, the big question is, how do we actually do this? How do we put this powerful idea into practice and start building this new kind of life portfolio? Well, it's not just about thinking differently, it's about doing differently. And it all starts with 3 really intentional, concrete steps.
All right, action plan. Step 1, you've got to audit your real assets. I'm not just talking about your bank account. Ask yourself, how rich am I in time, in genuine connections? Step 2, you have to define what enough looks like for you. You need to set a financial finish line. That's what gives you permission to finally step off that treadmill. And third, start investing in your legacy, right now. Even in a tiny way. Do something that contributes to something bigger than you.
And this isn't just some theory, you know? People are actually making this choice. Take this story of a senior scientist, 55 years old. He took a hard look at his own life portfolio and realized, wow, this is dangerously out of balance. He understood that time and purpose were assets he just couldn't afford to ignore anymore. So he made the call. He decided to reinvest in himself.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. A legacy act, it doesn't have to be some huge, grand gesture. It could be mentoring someone, volunteering for an hour, or just sharing something you know with someone who needs to hear it. So, the question for you is, what's one small thing you can do, starting today, to invest in a currency that goes way, way beyond gold?